Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in to j76 Gaming. I am Jimmy Wild, and this is the Wildcast. Alright, let's get rolling. Episode 8. This is going to be a long one, I think, so pack a lunch. We have official reveal of the Xbox Series S, and we got the pricing for the S and pricing for the X. But now we have another leak of the Series V. I was supposed to be prepared. There we go. So yeah, we got a Series V, which looks like to be the all-digital Series X, or I don't know, some middle ground between S and X anyways, but we'll get to that a little bit. So we also made it through another week without pricing on the Sony PS5. So I have to suspect that this is because of the Xbox dropping the prices and the models that they did. So Sony's probably had to go back and rejigger the pricing and be like, okay, now we can do it. But yeah, we win. We all win in this situation. We as in the consumer, as in the gamers, because competition, I missed the camera. Competition. And I won't be, well, I might be, hopefully I won't be thumbs upping too much with the right hand because we got the old Band-Aid on there. Not that cool with the Band-Aid, but that's all good. So Sony probably had to reduce and delay announcing, which is fine. But hopefully we'll find out on Wednesday, September 16th, because we got a PlayStation 5 showcase. So bring it. Come on, Sony. We're dying to know. What are the prices? And I mean, really, it's going to be, they're going to have to match Xbox now. So the PlayStation 5 with a disc drive is going to have to be $500. Their digital will probably be $400, and that's probably where the Xbox Series V will slide in at $400 also. So at least that's, I don't know, it all just makes sense that way. But yeah, we'll get all into this a little bit later. First I want to go through standard Wildcast stuff, what I've been playing, collection updates, and if you don't care what I'm playing or what I got in the collection, that's cool. You can go ahead and skip forward. There'll be timestamps in the description, and but in the meantime, if you're still here, I would appreciate any likes, and go ahead and subscribe if you like the Wildcast. Let me know in the comments if you like the Wildcast or you don't like the Wildcast. I'm open. I'm just rambling about things that are important to me, so I assume that they're important to other people as well. So what have I been playing? Well, I've been playing Kingdoms of Amalur Re-Reckoning. And GOG has it on sale for $35.99. That's 10% off. Actually, I think Steam, I think all the prices are the same, but I'm going to go with GOG every chance that I can just because I want to support them. But it's a good thing that it's $35.99 and not a $59.99 game, because I didn't get my collector's edition. It didn't come in. And actually, while I was filming this, I got an email from Amazon that said, I'm going to get the PC one on September 16th, so that'll be Wednesday. So that'll be nice, because I wanted to do an unboxing video of it, because I don't know, I just love this game. But anyway, I still don't have an idea when I'm going to get the Xbox Collector's Edition. Come on, Amazon, hook me up. But I know that some people are getting these on time because they're all over eBay already at like well over $200 a pop. Like, I hate those people. Have I mentioned how much I hate resellers? Ugh, but anyway, hopefully I'll get both of mine, and hopefully I'll get the PC one on Wednesday so I can unbox it and get a video out, because I'm excited. I don't know, I like the game, so the game is well worth it. I heard someone say that you could spend 100, 150, even 200 hours in this game. I think the official advertising is more like 50 hours, but still, at $35.99 for 50 hours or 100 hours or 200 hours, I mean, that's value. That's value right there. And I think it's fun. Like, I'm maybe 15 or 16 hours in, and I like it. I will say, the one thing I don't love about it, which is actually probably a good thing, even though I don't love it, is there are a million quests. Like, Quest City all the time. And that's a good thing, but for someone like me, it drives me crazy, because I want to keep control of my quest log. I don't want to have a million quests in there, because it's just like, I don't want to say it's overwhelming, because it's not overwhelming to have that many quests to track, but it's just like, I want my list to be smaller. And then by the time I get through, let's say I have 10 side quests, by the time I get that 10 down to 3, it had moved me into an area where there's 2 or 3 more, and then it's like, oh crap, now I'm back at 5 or 6, and then it's like, oh, now I'm in another area, now I'm back at 10. Like, crap. But whatever, that's a good problem to have, right? And I wanted to mention the graphics of this game. So I think it's pretty good. You can see the graphical upgrades, but it still feels like a 2012 game. I think it's 2012. Yeah, 2012. Which I don't mean that to say that it feels dated. Like, it doesn't feel, I don't know how to say this. It doesn't feel old. It feels like a game from that time period, which is a good time period. Because if you think about what were we playing in 2012? Well, we were playing World of Warcraft, Skyrim, and another game that gets compared to this is Fable 3, which is a little bit before that. But anyway, so those are some really big, good games to compare this to. And that's what it feels like. It feels like, to me, my first impression was, it feels like WoW and Skyrim combined. Like, it really feels like WoW a lot, but then it has what I think are better graphics. But anyway, so yeah, so if you like those type of games, you're gonna love this game, and I highly recommend it. All right, so let's get into the collection update, and the first thing I want to do is go through the collection revisit, go into the archives, and this is boom, boom, focus. There we go. It's a Tomb Raider watch. I got this from, I want to say Software Etc. I think that's what it was. And that would have been in good old Lansing, Michigan. Or East Lansing, whatever. I don't know. Somewhere. Lansing, Michigan, East Lansing, Michigan, whatever. It's a bit fuzzy because this was like 1999, so this is a while ago. But a guy that I was working with, he had a side job, or used to have a side job, something at like Software Etc. It was either Software Etc. or Babbage's or whatever they were at the time. But anyway, so he got one of these watches, and he was like, "Hey, dude, I know you like Tomb Raider. Do you want this watch?" And I was like, "Yeah, hello." So thank you, Mike. A long time ago. I won't say his last name, but anyway, it's pretty cool because like you don't actually see a lot of it, a lot about this thing online anywhere. Like the most information I found is 1999 Eidos Interactive, and it was for the game Tomb Raider: The Last Revelation. So yeah, I mean, it's probably not worth anything, but I just think it's cool to have. You know, it seems pretty rare but I don't know. At the very least, it's unique, and I'm like grateful to have it in the collection for, 21 years now. Crazy. But yeah. And I was gonna say, I probably can't show it, but it still works. Can you see the hands? Yeah, you probably can't see it, but it does still work. I promise. Which is a bit of a feat because the strap here doesn't actually come off. Like, part of it comes off, but then there's still a second like piece of Velcro on there. And you can't get it off, so you got to really MacGyver your way in there to try to get the battery changed, which I did manage, which was really cool, because I mean, you got to have a working battery, you got to have the watch working so you can put it on sometimes and go out, wear it to dinner. Well, number one, we don't go to dinner anymore, but also you wouldn't wear a Tomb Raider watch, but maybe you would. I would. It'd be fun. So yeah, that's the collection revisit. So the other collection updates are, like I said last week, I kind of want to slow down on the collections because I'm spending way too much money on it. So I did that, and I have done that. So I don't have a lot to show. I did order some things, which I probably shouldn't have, but those would be cool when they get here. So I'll show you those later. And like I said, I was hoping to have the Kingdoms of Amalur collector's editions to do an unboxing for this part, but that'll just do a standalone video or something. But so for now, I've been focused on hardware, which is going to be the consoles coming up. So I don't want to spend too much money because I need to save money for the consoles and the video cards. But I did buy one big ticket item for to get ready for the next gen consoles and PCs, and that's I got an LG C10 TV. So that's got it's an OLED. It has HDMI 2.1, and it will do 4K 120 hertz. So I'm excited to have that. I don't know what I'm gonna do content wise about that, because it feels like kind of a waste if I don't show it. But I do want to wait and get some of the new hardware so I can have a comparison. And like, this is what a PS4 looks like, this is what a PS5 looks like, or something like that. But anyway, so that was a big purchase. But thanks to Best Buy financing, it's kind of affordable. Just 2 years, no interest. Pay a couple $100 a month for that, and you're good. Anyway, also, so I talked about this last week, but the Sid Meier memoir's out. I haven't read it yet. Hoping to read it soon. I did watch PAX Online has an interview with Sid Meier, and I would say I guess it's worth watching, but it wasn't really good. It was kind of boring. Like, the guy that was doing the interview, he talked way too much, and he talked really slow. And I think it's kind of annoying because I do the same thing, right? I'm thinking as I'm talking, and so he's doing that. But it's like, I didn't come here to see you talk. I came here to see you ask a question briefly, and then let Sid talk, because he's the star of the show. But anyway, but like I said, I would do the same thing, and I would probably be horrible interviewing Sid Meier, because I'd be like, "Durr, Sid Meier, you're my hero." But anyway, so that's it for collection update. All right, so on to the main topics for this week, and I want to go over AMD stuff really quick, and then we'll get into like the main topic of the Xbox stuff. But anyway, it looks like we finally have some updates from AMD. And it's great news. I don't know if the timing is good or bad or what. I still think Nvidia's got the edge because they have products that will be shipping before AMD actually announces what their big Navi is going to look like. But we do have on October 8th, we'll get update on the Zen 3 CPUs, so like the 4000 series. I can't wait. I cannot wait. I cannot wait to see what the improvements are over the 3000 series, because I think the 3000 series are phenomenal. I'm actually running two of them. I have a 3900X and a 3700X, and they are awesome. Anyway, once again, disclaimer, I do own AMD stock, blah, blah, blah. So, but my opinion is still they are awesome, and I bought the stock because their products are awesome. But anyway, so yeah, and then, so on the 28th, we got big Navi reveal. Yeah, I think it would have been interesting if they would have had been able to come out sooner, but I still think that Nvidia is worried, or at least is positioning around AMD's reveal, because I don't believe that Nvidia would have came out with a 3070 for $500 and a 3080 for $700 if they didn't think that AMD was going to have something that could match those cards. Because otherwise we would have ran into what we did at the 2000 series, where you have, what was the 2080 was like $700, $800, was it? And the performance was not there. Like this year, the performance is there, and it seems to be awesome. I guess we should still put an asterisk until we get confirmation, but it should be awesome. And there should be plenty of value for that $700 compared to the 2080 last 2 years ago. But anyway, I'm off task. But once again, this is yay competition. Like, we win in this. The gamers win, consumers win, because Nvidia had to worry about its competitor AMD. So, thank you, AMD. Yeah, okay, so I need to backtrack a little bit from last week. Last week I said that there is really no reason for anyone to buy a 3090. There was no reason. And my argument is that the 3080 was going to do everything that we needed for this generation. And Nvidia came out and disproved that. So, all right. So Nvidia did an AMA on Reddit, and what I thought was interesting the most was here. And there's just talking about like what allowed the 3000 series to be so good compared to the 2000 series. And you can read it, but I'll go ahead and read it too. There were major breakthroughs in GPU architecture, process technology, and memory technology, to name just a few. An RTX 3080 is powerful enough to run certain games maxed out at 4K 144 FPS. And now my arguments were all about 120 FPS, but 120, 144, I don't care, same difference. So Doom Eternal, Forza 4, Wolfenstein Youngblood, to name a few. So that's maxed out 4K 144 FPS on the 3080. Good stuff. But others, Red Dead Redemption 2, Control, Borderlands 3, for example, are closer to 4K 60 FPS with maxed out settings. So that's interesting. Borderlands 3 in particular, of all of those, the only game I play is Borderlands 3. And on a 2080 Ti, I cannot do 1440p at 144 hertz. So I think I may have been, a little overzealous thinking that a 3080 would be able to push 4K at 120. So it turns out that it can't. So there, if you want to push Borderlands 3 or similar titles at 4K 120, you're going to need a 3090. Okay. That was my target anyway, so. But now I'm just like building in justification to myself that it's not just a nice to have. Well, I mean, it's a nice to have. Come on, let's be serious here. But if you do want to do 4K 120, which is what I want to do, you're going to need a 3090. So yeah. That's all I want to talk about GPU stuff this week. I feel like we're going to have more in the coming weeks once we get to launches next week. So the 3080 launches on the 17th of September. That's Thursday, I think. And the review embargo ends on, or lifts on the 16th. So we should start getting third-party stuff on the 16th. So hopefully, I think these cards are going to deliver everything that they say they're going to, or at least very close. But it'll still be interesting to see, like, what is Gamers Nexus going to show? What is, who else am I going to watch? j76, Pulse Hardware, Bitwit, all of those guys. What are they gonna show it looking like? So yeah, that's all for GPU stuff. All right, on to the main topic for this week, the Xbox, and I guess we can say all of the next generation stuff, but my focus is I want to build a case that the Xbox Series S, V, X, whatever, these are the people's consoles. In particular, the Xbox Series S. I really think that this is the console for the people, right? So anyway, hear me out, but let's get going. But first, Taco Bell promotion. For those of you that don't know, I love Taco Bell. I don't eat it anymore because I try to eat healthy, but I will always make an exception to go get Taco Bell and try to win an Xbox. I haven't won one yet, but there's got to be a time I have to win one at some point, right? I don't know, but yeah, I'm hoping that I can get out. Plus, Taco Bell is so good. It's so yummy. And I hear all of your arguments that Taco Bell is not good food, and I dismiss them because it's delicious and maybe not good for you, but it tastes good. But all jokes aside on Taco Bell, like I mentioned earlier, we have official pricing on the Xbox Series S and X. So this is great news. $299 for an Xbox Series S, I think is the deal of the century. Maybe not, but I think it's a good deal. And I think $500 for the Series X is a good deal also. There's a lot to offer in that console, power-wise and feature-wise. So yeah, I think it's a good deal. What else we got here? I have so many notes. That's why I keep going back to my notes, because I had so many thoughts over the week and I was just writing them down, so I didn't forget about them. But yeah, so there was also the leak. I already brought it up here, but the Series V, and it looks like it's the digital version of the Series X. Now, I think this article does say that it is it's rumored to be less powerful than the Series X, but more powerful than the S. And okay, either way, maybe it exactly matches the specs for the PS5 and it doesn't have a disk drive, but I mean, whatever. I'm just focused on this is just the digital version. So I really think they should call it Series D for digital, or D's nut for Sony, suck on D's nut, but D for digital is what I'm going to stick with, because it's going to go against the digital PS5. That's what it is. It's going to have to be $400, and Sony's going to have to be $400 for their digital. Makes sense to me. Let's go back. Or was I? Here. Okay. Also, random observation. Look how small the Series S is. And I think that's important because think about if you want to go to your buddy's house and you want to play games. Do you want to lug around? Well, number one, do you want to lug around your PC? Do you want to lug around a Series X? Or do you want to lug around a PS5, a ginormous PS5? Or do you want to just go ahead and stick that Series S in your backpack? Got to go visit the parents for the weekend? Got to go visit family for the weekend? Sneak that sucker in your backpack? You're good to go. I mean, I think this is... I don't want to make it sound cute, but it's definitely a good size to solve that I'm away from home but I still want to game needs. So I like that. But yeah. All right, so Sony. I'm about to go on a bit of a rant here, so hold on to your hats. So while we have all of the pricing for at least the two officially announced Xboxes, what does Sony have? Sony has a gold PS5. I mean, I didn't do the conversion math, but you saw the headlines. There's like, this is like $10,000. And to be fair, I don't really care that something like this exists. I really don't. But is it dumb that it exists? Yes, absolutely. This is the dumbest thing ever. If you have $10,000 and are a huge piece of shit, then sure, go ahead and buy this. But the fact that this exists is a huge middle finger to the vast majority of the population of the world that cannot even comprehend affording this. Like, come on. It's the dumbest thing that this exists. It's so dumb. And this is another example of how, like, the richest people in the world, well, number one, they have way too much money and they just keep getting richer. And the rest of us are like trying to get by in some version of poverty or middle class. And middle class, I hate to even say the word middle class. It sounds ridiculous. But it's really not middle class. There's rich as fuck and everybody else. That's all it is. Bajillionaires and everybody else. That's all there is. There's like this poverty, middle class, upper middle, whatever. Screw it. Rich as fuck and everybody else. And if you think that buying a gold PS5 is a good idea, and they have other ones, we got rose gold and platinum, go fuck yourself. But if you do have the money and you are thinking, yeah, no, I'm going to go buy this. Well, number one, like I said, you're a piece of shit. And two, I would challenge you to use that $10,000 to improve your community. Well, probably not your community because you probably live in a McMansion somewhere. But in one of the surrounding communities that may be, struggling with this global pandemic right now, I would challenge you to use your $10,000 to improve a community, a small business that's struggling right now, a school that is trying to teach your children, or maybe just help out some people that are struggling to pay rent right now. All of those are better reasons or better ways to spend $10,000 than a fucking gold PS5. Rant off. So, I gotta take it off. I can't even look at it. rant amendment. So Sony allowing this to be the only official pricing right now, and it's not official Sony product, but you know what I mean, the official product is just buying into the BS that Sony is the premium or the elite product. No, get your shit out of here. So anyway, I'm fine with the Xbox being the less expensive. I don't want to say cheap because it's not cheap, but the less expensive version of the next gen consoles. And I'm perfectly happy with it not having the elite or premium branding that Sony does, because that's not what most of us want. You know, like that's not what matches the most of the people in the world. I would argue that it is that the Xboxes are value for the money. So anyway, let's take a look at the specs here, because I really, like I said, I think that the Xbox Series S and all of them are the console for like the people. The X is, I think, phenomenal value, and the S is amazing value, like unbelievable. So hear me out. So we have an S. It's $300. I think that's a great price for a new console. I think it's still a lot of money, but it's a good price, and like there's tons of value. And to be fair, it's not as powerful as an X. Okay. It doesn't have to be. If you want to look at the GPU is really the big sticking point for performance on this, if you just look at the numbers. But we'll get more into the GPU in a second. But first, the CPU. So if you look at the CPU, it's only 200 megahertz slower than the X. So we got 3.8 to 3.6 on the boost. That's like what, 5%? Like 5.25%? Not a big deal. With that said, if this was on a PC and I was trying to build a PC with maximum performance and you said, well, this one is 5% faster, I'm going to get the faster one. But that's not what we're talking here. We're talking value in a console here. So CPU is like 5%, and the RAM, and a lot of people are harping on the RAM, and I don't necessarily agree with it. So we're going to skip the GPU stuff for a second. So RAM, it's 10 gig versus 16. And it's like, oh my God, you can't run 4K games in 10 gig RAM. Number one, yes, you can. The 4K gaming, it can balloon past 10 gig of RAM, but it also probably doesn't. And Nvidia makes a huge case in their 3080 material, saying that 4K gaming only uses 8 gig of RAM. And that's Nvidia. So anyway, so all right, we have less RAM and it's slower. All right, it's still plenty. Because if you think about the target, this is a 1080p box. This is not about 4K gaming. Can you plug it into a 4K TV? Sure. Knock yourself out. But this is really targeted for 1080p, or I would argue you could let your 4K TV upscale a 1080p signal, which if you have a fairly recent 4K TV, and the prices of the 4K TVs have really, really plummeted for the low to middle levels. And that's not to say that they're bad. They're just an immense amount of value at the the low to middle tiers as opposed to the outrageous prices at the top. So anyway, so Microsoft is talking about this 1440p resolution. I was like, but are you talking super sampling? Because there's not like 1440 TV. There's 1440p monitors. Okay. But I'm not sure that your target market is people that have a TV and a 1440p monitor that just happens to be laying around that they can hook their Xbox up to. And maybe, but whatever. But I think what really is a good scenario here is if it is really pumping out 1440p graphics, and then if you set it to, but it's outputting 1080p, then you get some super sampling going on, and like, I think it's going to be a phenomenal 1080p box, which, well, I'll cover that in a second. Let's just keep going here. So storage, 512 gig, that sucks. Like, I'll give you that. Like, anyone that's complaining about the Series S, I'll give you that. That sucks. But if you are only playing a couple of games at a time, you're fine. And do you have to maybe uninstall and reinstall some things sometimes? Sure. But you could still fit quite a few games on 512. Now, if you put Red Dead Redemption 2 on there, maybe you're screwed. Maybe you can only get much less games, but I don't know. That's just me. It's not great, but there's options. I mean, like I said, you can re-download stuff. It's not ideal, but it works. You can do it. And then there's going to be plenty of room for external. So I don't know. I think it's a decent size in order to get the cost down. So and then comparing this to like a current gen is okay. It's an SSD that's 512 and it's a PCIe Express 4 Gen 4. So I mean, you're going to be getting some speeds out of it, right? That's gonna be really nice. So last gen prices, new gen performance. But yeah, what else we got? Backwards compatibility, don't care. Disk drive, don't care. HDMI 2.1 output. That's cool. I like that. So yeah, and I should say about the digital only stuff is I'm a bit of a hypocrite because I have a huge collection of physical games and I prefer physical games. So I should, in theory, not like a digital only Xbox. But my hypocrisy is I don't like to actually get up and swap discs. Like, like whatever's in the drive on my PlayStation has been in there forever because I don't want to stand up, eject it, and put something else in. So I have a lot of digital PS4 games, unfortunately. But anyway. So let's talk about the GPU a bit more. I mentioned last week that there's only 35% of North America households with 4K TVs. So that leaves 65%-ish. I mean, let's give some wiggle room here, right? But whatever, 65% is in 1080p land. Or worse, like 720. But 1080p. So who cares if this console can do 4K or not? It doesn't matter. And like I said, if you have a 4K TV and you output 1080p to it, it's going to upscale nicely. So, big deal. Let's also look at 120 hertz or 120 FPS seems to be like the buzzword of this generation. Well, a CPU has more of an impact on the FPS when you're talking 1080p. So you can get away with a lot less GPU at 1080p, and just having the CPU horsepower to really drive those frames is what you need. So if you're talking 1080p, 120 hertz, that's a good scenario. So I think we're fine there. Because like I said, the CPU is only 5% slower, like clocked slower than on the Series X. So I'm going to go back to the GPU power. Oops, I can't highlight it. Anyway, 12 teraflops on the Series X and 4 on the Series S. That's a big drop. I'll give you that. But 1/3 of the teraflops does not mean 1/3 of the performance. That doesn't scale linearly. I don't know. It's not linear. We'll say it that way. It doesn't scale like that. So we're going to have to wait and see what the performance is actually like. But I doubt that 1080p performance is going to be 1/3 of the Xbox Series X. That's all I want to point out there. And actually I have more stuff, but 4 teraflops is on par with the PS4 Pro, which, okay, that kind of stinks that it matches the Pro from last year or last gen. But like I said, with this increased CPU and with the Gen 4 SSDs, you're going to get excellent performance on all of the surrounding systems. So that 4 teraflop GPU is really not your bottleneck, or is really not your limiting factor here. I don't want to say bottleneck because that's probably not true, because like I said, the CPU is more impactful at 1080p than the GPU. So it is less than the Xbox One X, because the One X from this gen is 6.2 teraflops, I think. So the Series S is lower than that. But once again, you get all of the new supporting components to go with it. So I think the Xbox One X is a fantastic console. But I think the Series S is going to be, I don't think they should necessarily be compared. I think the Series S is going to stand alone on its own as a great 1080p console. So, and like I said, you can put it in your backpack and go to your family and be like, oh, don't mind me, just playing my Xbox. But yeah, also we're still going to, with the new generation, you're going to get ray tracing. We don't have that in last gen. And one thing that I'm going to sneeze. Phew, excuse me. One thing that Gamers Nexus actually brought up this morning I was watching was xCloud. Bloop. So could there be in the future an Xbox Series S streaming cloud-powered gaming for $300? That might be awesome. Now, I'm not an advocate for cloud gaming. I want all of the horsepower on this side. But I have seen a demo of Stadia where my buddy has it, and I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. Like, I don't want that. I don't want to play Destiny on my phone, for example, but I can see where this comes in if you just have like a fairly underpowered laptop and you want to start playing 4K games, or not 4K, but whatever, high graphic games. I don't know. This could be a combination that wins. So we'll have to see how that plays out. But yeah. Oh, and so this is all included in the Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. So, speaking of, let's go to the next topic here. Xbox All Access. So, what I really like, well, there's lots of things to like about the Xbox, but what I really like about this is payment plans. How great is that right now that Xbox is coming out and saying, hey, $25 a month, get you an S. $35 a month, get you an X. Yes, please. Because I think payment plans are what we need to be focusing on right now. There's just too many people that have budget restrictions. And you could argue that if you have budget restrictions, you should not be trying to get a next-gen console. Okay. But let's look at it this way. Let's just take $35 a month for a Series X. I think the stuff is at the bottom. Yeah, here we go. $35 a month. No upfront, zero APR. Now, granted, you're going to have to qualify for this, which might be the downfall, but let's assume you do qualify for it. 24 months of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. That's 100, what do they say, 100 games that you get, $35 a month. What else can you get value-wise that you can entertain yourself for the entire month for $35? Now, I mean, you could make an argument like, oh, like Netflix is $17 or whatever for the, I think I paid $17 for Netflix. But really, is there that much? Like, how much TV can you actually watch? Because TV, you're just watching. You know, there's no interaction. You're just watching. You're zoned out. You're just watching. Gaming, $35 for an entire month. Every moment that you are awake and not working, you could be interacting online with your friends, meeting new friends, interact with your family. Maybe you have family. Maybe you have cousins. You know, save your sanity for unlimited sanity saving for $35 a month. I'm all in. Like, I don't accept any arguments that say this isn't a good deal. And if you work out the math, it's actually cheaper than if you were to go buy an Xbox Series X and then buy Game Pass Ultimate on top of it. I mean, it's only like $20 cheaper, but it's still cheaper. So my point is this could have been a situation where Microsoft is like, we're going to screw over the people that can't afford it. But they didn't. They said, you can have this, and it's actually cheaper. Or let's just call it the same price. For the same price, you can make payments and get a new Xbox. Thank you. Oh, and then, so what else? Now you get EA Play also. So on top of all the games you are already going to get, now you get the EA games. So you can finally play Anthem. I'm just kidding. Don't play Anthem. It sucks. But maybe down the road, when they fix Anthem, it'll be worth playing, and you'll get it for free. You know? So yeah. Good stuff. Xbox. I really feel like this is the console that we need and deserve right now. It is the people's console. So, thank you. Thank you, Xbox. Yeah. So that was a ride. So, final thought time, I guess. I'm still super excited for all of the new hardware coming out. I can't wait. I'm glad to have an actual date of September 22nd. So knowing the date of pre-orders, that makes me happy. Who knows? Who knows what we're going to be able to get? I hope that everyone that wants an Xbox gets an Xbox. And I hope that the resellers don't get any. Of course, they're going to get a bunch of them, but I hope they don't. So yeah, that's it. And actually, I'm going to end, because after I had written all of this out, I got a Google alert about the Sony showcase. So 100% rumor. Maybe we'll get a reveal of Final Fantasy 16 this week at the Xbox showcase. Who knows? Could happen. I don't know. I have no information other than it just came across in my alerts, but whatever. I guess speaking of Sony, there's one other thing that Kana, which is a game that I'm pretty excited for on PlayStation 5, got pushed back to 2021. But whatever. I mean, realistically, I'm probably not going to be able to get a PlayStation until 2021, but I don't know. It doesn't matter. But anyway, cool stuff. Thanks, everyone. You're fantastic. Thanks for listening to me vent, rant, ramble, spit nonsense through my Wildcast. I love it, and y'all are fantastic.